Hey class, I wanted to do a quick tutorial about laying out your color wheel on your Bristol paper and how you might accomplish that. I want it to be about 7 or 8, even 9 inches in diameter, so pretty good size. And I have some circle templates in my studio, but nothing that big. So what I found, I went in my kitchen and I found some dishes that are about the right size, and I'm gonna just trace those to give me my circles. Now, to set it up so that I could actually make it so that my rings are equally wide all the way around, because if you just do it by eye, right, it might get kind of wonky, is that I drew a horizontal and vertical line with right angles, and then my little plate is just about 8 inches across. So on my circle I measured 4 inches and made a mark on one side of the center point and 4 inches on the other side and made a mark. And then I did the same thing on the vertical, 4 inches and 4 inches. And that way my outer circle is centered right on this crosshairs. So the next one was the bowl. It's 6.5 inches. So when I I went ahead and made 3 1/4 from the center, 3 1/4 inches from the center, 3 1/4 inches, 3 1/4 inches. Use those little marks so that I could line up the bowl, traced it. Then my little cup, 3 3/4 across, which made me have to think a little bit when it came to dividing it in half. It was like 1 1/2 plus some little parts. So I think that was actually like 1 7/8. But anyway, from that center point, I did 1 7/8 this way, 1 7/8 that way, that way, that way, traced it. And as you can see, it turned out pretty good. The outer circle is nice and even all the way around. The center, the more center, and to all the way in the middle. What we're going to be doing on this color wheel is we're going to do hues, shades, and tints. Shades is when you add black to a hue to make a darker color. Tints is when you add white to a hue to make a pastel color. And so each ring is going to be that. And so the outer ring is shades, the center wider ring is the hue, and then the ring interior to that is the tints. And then this little center circle, I leave white. Sometimes people paint it gray or black, depending on what looks good to them. So that's what those rings are for. Okay, so I set that up right here. Then we're going to do primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. So I have a little color wheel here. So each of these little wedges, right, for each color, is that there are 12 all the way around. So what you're going to want to do is divide the circle into 12 equal parts. And so what I figured out with my big brain was that since it's already quartered, right, then each quarter could be divided into 3 parts. And if you do that, you're going to end up with 12 equal sections. Brilliant, right? So I just put in these so that you can see them. But you're going to go all the way around, divide each quarter into thirds. Maybe you have a protractor where you'll actually measure it, or is that what it is, those curve things? But I don't, so I just kind of went for it. Excuse me. And then I would suggest writing the name of the color on the outside so that you keep things in order. I can't believe I'm sneezing in the middle of this, and Okay. Right, so if I start with yellow and then yellow, orange, orange, red, etc., all the way around. You do want to keep them in the order of this kind of color wheel design. I mean, we could describe color and organize it in all kinds of systems, but we're doing the classic color wheel. You do want to keep them in the order that they appear because you want the complementary colors across from each other. So it never occurred to me that someone might like do a random order of the wedges until a student did, and then that part doesn't work out. So you want to follow the order. You'll see it on Canvas. There'll be a color wheel for you to refer to there. But this way, the red and the green complements are across from each other. The yellow and the violet are across from each other. The blue and the orange are across from each other. Those are the famous ones. But then, of course, the blue, green, and the red, orange are also complements, etc. Okay, so it should be kind of fun. Now, if you think that you're just not going to be someone who cuts yours out and mounts it on another piece of Bristol, even though that is my preferred thing for you to do, just make sure you write these words and any sort of extra drawing outside of your colors very light so that you can erase it cleanly. We're also going to be doing scales. So we're going to do a monochromatic scale and a complementary color scale. And so I'm going to just be doing those on this same page. Since I am going to cut them out, I'm not worrying about doing a nice layout. I'm just making sure I have enough space around them to be able to cut easily. And I have a 1-inch ruler here. Each are going to be 9 steps of value. So I just traced around 9 inches of my ruler, and then I'll just divide that up into 9 spaces, and then I'll do that again. I have a lot of space over here, so I'll probably pop that one over there. Okay, so I hope that's helpful to you, and I'm looking forward to seeing your final product. Oh, one last thing, sorry. In terms of taking notes about the color, this is what my notes look like, kind of messy, right? You can do this in your sketchbook or on a scrap paper, but this is what I'm talking about when I say that in the instructions. My set of gouache came with warms and cool colors, but what they're called and how warm and how cool they are differs with many sets. And so you want to figure out which are your warm and cool colors and how different they actually are. So I have set them out here. In my kit, scarlet is the warm red, and deep rose is the cool red. Cobalt, ultramarine, is, I don't have great light, maybe that helps a little bit, is the cool blue, and light blue, cyan, is the warm blue. Light yellow is like the cad yellow, it's the warm yellow, and lemon yellow is the cool yellow. And then, so I wrote their names, and I wrote warm or cool. And then I went ahead and mixed secondary colors because I wanted to see how those turned out and what key differences there might have been. I actually did it a couple times. And so if you see, I think maybe you can see in this one, the warm purple and the cool purple are the sort of most different in my kit. The warm purple is always very different than the cool purple, but it just depends sometimes on the quality of the paint, how much you can see that. But the warm purple is really a brown purple. It's kind of plummy. It's a very natural looking purple, but it's not a showstopper the way the cool purple is in this case. It's a much, poppier, purplier purple. The cool green is cool. It's a little mintier looking than the warm green. I mixed it twice to make sure I wasn't just it wasn't just the water. I mean, I knew it's supposed to be, but my kit, they're very pretty close together, but you can see here where I did it again. I don't know if in my phone camera you can really tell, but this is a much warmer green. So indeed there is a big difference there. And then this is the warmer orange and the cooler orange. So I want you to mix those, because when it comes time to do your color wheel, you're just going to pick one set of primaries, either your warm primaries or your cool primaries. And so you want to know what your secondaries are going to look like, you know, to make that decision whether you want to go with the warms or the cools. I'm probably going to go with the cools in my set because I like how the purple looks, although I do like the warm green a lot. So I'm going to go with the cools, but you could go with the warms. Both are good, but you're only going to pick one set. So when you're doing your notes, looking at the difference in your primaries, mix your secondaries, and keep in mind that when it comes to this, you're going to be picking one set, either the warm set or the cool set. All right, good luck.